Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker actually gave us a lot of questions and answers. Some of, questions about Palpatine. Is he a clone? Is he not a clone? Apparently, according to the novelization, according to what people said, he is a clone. What did Finn want to say to Rey? Where did, is Palpatine's son a clone? If he was, where did Rey get her Force powers? There's so many things that need to be answered, and I'm going to talk about most of them, but I'm really going to talk about why I don't really think Palpatine works of coming back in The Rise of Skywalker. And of course, major spoilers for The Rise of Skywalker. If you've not seen it, come back, watch it, and then come back to this video. First things first, let's start off with the miniature questions. What did Finn want to tell Rey? Now, when this first happened back in the quicksand, I was like, okay, he's saving up a moment until, before the big battle, or at the very end when everyone's celebrating. He's finally going to tell her. During that big battle, I was like, oh, wait, he's never going to tell her, and we never, ever get to know. Maybe it says in the book, I don't know, I've never read the book, but I shouldn't have to read a book to get an answer in a film. I shouldn't have to read a book to understand what he was saying. Did I have to read any books to understand the original trilogy or the prequels or Force Awakens and even Last Jedi? No, they were just films that I just watched because they were there. So not really getting an answer for this question is not very interesting. Some people have speculated what he was going to say he loves her, or he's a Jedi, because J.J. Abrams hinted in Force Awakens that he has some Jedi powers, and he also hinted in The Rise of Skywalker. So maybe he was going to tell him, hey, maybe he was going to tell Rey, hey, I think I have Force powers, I think I was a Jedi, what I was going to do, something above those lines. I think as the estimate of I love her, or he doesn't really love her, or he has Force powers, or he has feelings for somebody else, I think the Jedi question is a much more, the statement I like a lot more, that he was just saying that he was a Jedi, because there was a lot of hintage in Force Awakens and then The Rise of Skywalker. And also saying Poe being a smuggler is something that was really interesting, but again, it doesn't really go anywhere. They go on this planet to get C-3PO to tell him where this special dagger is, and we really don't really understand. We don't really get to know a lot more about his smuggler past from what we're told. And I'm not saying I wanted a whole other storyline or backstory, but just a bit more story and a bit more on the development of these characters. And this is what I really don't like about Rise of Skywalker. It spends so much time redoing the mistakes of Last Jedi than actually telling its story. What it should have done is just accept Last Jedi's choices and just try to make this film, and not try to undo what The Last Jedi did and what Rian Johnson did with that film. So if they would have focused just on actually continually making a story without trying to fix The Last Jedi's mistakes and the choices that Rian Johnson decided to make with that film, and just actually tell a story, I feel like we would have got to learn more about Finn, what he was wanting to tell Rey, and his path of being a Jedi. I would have just seen a lot more of Finn's Jedi training, or learned a lot more about Poe's relationship as a smuggler. I think would have been a lot better, and also learned more about Rey and her torment with the dark side. Each of these films have been tempted and kind of hinted at, but especially with The Rise of Skywalker, I think that would have been a very interesting thing, that she's been tempted, and then that she is the daughter, the grandchild, of Palpatine. I think that would have been a lot better, that her grandfather is the evilest guy in the galaxy, and deal with a lot more about that remorse and that loss and that depression. But instead of doing that, J.J. Abrams was so worried about fixing the mistakes of The Last Jedi, and I just felt like it was just rushed, and I felt like there was just so much going on about that character. But let's talk about Palpatine coming back, where Palpatine playing a clone. I loved seeing Palpatine back in this film. Truly. I thought he was extremely... but really, the performance as well seemed extremely off. I'm gonna be honest. The performance just seemed extremely... really not really that eccentric. Again, it was a really cool... It was really fun to see Ian McDermott coming back to this character and coming back to this performance, but he just seemed very not really wanting to be there. And then, according to the novelization, what people have said, he is indeed a clone. This is what people have said. He is indeed a clone. And to be honest, what do I think of this method that he is apparently a clone? It ruins the original 6 films for me. Seriously. It literally, for J.J. Abrams being a massive fan of the original trilogy and Star Wars itself, why would he on earth would he want to crap on the original 6? The original 6, the prequels were about Anakin and his training and him falling to the dark side, and then the original trilogy was about him be Vader, then at the very end, him doing what the prophecy said and fulfilling the prophecy to kill the Emperor and stop him. It kind of just takes a dump on the original trilogy and the whole 6 franchise. And also, I know what people are saying, I'm going to be saying, oh, J.J. Abrams said he always wanted to bring back Palpatine in the films. Bullcrap. He did not. He was never hinted at in The Force Awakens. He was never hinted at in The Last Jedi. Of any point of what J.J. Abrams said until this film came out that he wanted to have Palpatine in this film. It just kind of felt like, okay, Snoke's dead because Rian Johnson killed him off. Okay, let's just make Snoke be a clone of the Emperor, and let's just make Palpatine come back. Stupid choice to deliver. This was a stupid choice that was extremely faulted and extremely messy. Also, it really makes clear that Disney had no plan, seriously no direction for this new trilogy. They're like, I want to make a whole set of new films and spin-offs, but let's not really find the direction that we want this original trilogy. Let's kind of do a soft New Hope reboot. Get people back into Star Wars. Do a much more serious and experimental. And then let's try to make our Avengers Endgame with the 9th installment. Rise of Skywalker should have been an epic conclusion to the Skywalker franchise. But instead we spend like the first hour of the film to like first hour to 30 minutes of the film fixing Last Jedi and fixing what J.J. Abrams didn't like about that film and the choices that Rian Johnson made instead of just telling and making a film. This film should have been, as I keep saying, so much longer. This film should have been, like maybe an hour and a half longer. People have always said this is like a 2.5 hour film, but it should have been maybe a 3 to 3 hour film because there's so much in this film. And this film I was really looking forward to. But just kind of thinking about Last Jedi and kind of just thinking about the choices that I made, and thinking about the mistakes, giving it an A- on my review. Thinking about the film, I don't hate it. Definitely not. There's some good elements in this film. But just looking back on it and looking back at bringing back Palpatine and having so many answers and having so many questions not answered really kind of bring it all down a peg for me. And this film would have been so much better with so many other things added. And J.J. Abrams was just fixing, Luke in Last Jedi just kind of throws the lightsaber. Now he catches it. That's no way to treat a Jedi's weapon. It's forced. It's rushed. And so those were why I don't really like Palpatine coming back, and also some of the choices that they made in The Rise of Skywalker. What do you think of these? Do you like this film? Do you hate it? Also, you guys' thoughts down below. I think Rise of Skywalker has really kind of calmed down and being one of the more worst reviewed Star Wars films, and why I still enjoy it. I was kind of in denial of this film, not loving it the first time. I really wanted to love it. I wanted to give this film an A+, but I couldn't, and I still can't. I still enjoy the film. I'll definitely still watch it again. So those were if you guys like this video, you guys can hit that like button and subscribe for more content like the one you just watched. You guys can also check out my podcast I do every other Tuesday morning with a friend of mine. It's called the 2 Piece in a Pod podcast. You guys can also check out my Instagram at General_Daniel77. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. General out.